Cool. Thank you.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, by the way, Raquel has the first self-driven car. You notice she's just sitting back, reclining, and her car is driving itself. Look at that. Everyone look at Raquel. Can you see Raquel's video? She has the first automated self-driving car, it looks like. That's what it looks like. That's funny. All right. There's Elio. Elio, if anyone needs a good prescription, he's the best in the business. Also, he sells a lot of houses first month in, $450,000 deal. I love it. Cool. Well, listen, welcome, Mind, Body, Mastermind, mindset, skill set, and will set. And so, I'm really excited about this new series we kicked off last week, with the panel. And, we had 3 on one time, another 3. And well, today I said, wait a minute, I'm going to bring someone in. It's going to take up all 3 of them. We don't need 3 people today. We just need 1. And that is the famous Paul Saperstein. And he and I have had a wonderful relationship for the last 22 years. And we're going to hear a little bit about that story. But anyway, just a reminder for those of you on, we're going to be posting in the chat. For those of you just the first time on here, you definitely want to make sure you get this link, because this is that SMOS for your business and life, which has the 3-year business plan. Then it has all of the things that we've been doing with the Mind Body Masterminds, and the series that we did on circumstances, which I regret ever bringing up. As I said last week, when I started this 7 weeks ago, divine intelligence showed up, divine integrity showed up and says, oh, you think you know something about circumstances, do you? And so the rest is history, and it's amazing what I'm learning and still growing with all these circumstances. So when you come in here, these are just a lot of the things that we've been doing together. So we'll get you this link for sure. Matter of fact, I'll put it in the first time now, so you have it. I'm going to copy that. And then, of course, keep in mind, this is growing, but it's kind of growing slower than I thought it was. 175 members, the Mind Body Mastermind Facebook group that we're doing, getting some better participation here. But this community, I don't want it just to be me. I want it to be all of us really contributing, because you see in these meetings when people speak up, Lizette last week with her story was absolutely phenomenal. And by the way, Joe, when we're posting, while you're posting other things, you hear other things in other meetings, feel free to post in here as well. So anyway, I'm going to give you this link now, and then this is the Mind Body Mastermind on Facebook. Okay, so let me come back here. Let me come to the chat. So don't forget to put that in once, and then Joe will repeat it throughout. I think he's already done. Look at this. This guy is on the ball. Look at him. So now I did it, and he did it both. So anyway, okay. So Mind Body Mastermind, mindset, skill set, will set. The first thing I want to do, I had an opportunity to speak to a big EXP event last week, and one of the things I talked about with mindset, skill set, and will set, what really comes first, right? You can move them all around. You could say, hey, if it doesn't start with the mindset, then you got to have that proper mindset. Well, in one way, you got to have the will to have the mindset, because let's face it, I want you to ask yourself a question today before Paul and I start, going back and forth a little bit, and him sharing his 22 years of experience at a high level. I want to ask you a question. Write this down. If not today, when? If not today, when? When are you going to get your mindset, your will set, and skill set working in sync? Brent Gove, every meeting I go to, every event that I've been in with him, we did one at Boca. He says the same thing every time, just about right in the beginning. He said, folks, I've got some news for you. I want you all to take note. No one is coming to rescue you, right? You've got to get that mindset right. You've got to get that will set right. Then that skill set. The skill set, in my opinion, only comes definitely after the first 2, no matter where you want to place them. But Brent's emphasis, I got news for you. No one's coming to rescue you. Not your kids, not your parents, not your spouse, not your significant other, not your buddies, not your friends, not Paul Saperstein, not Fred DeFalco. And we a lot of times we're looking for that magic, and that only magic lies within, and it starts with, again, the mindset, will set, and then you'll go out and get the skill. So anyway, Paul, let's start off with that. Just a real quick background. We met you got your license 1999, right? And
came with 98, 99, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Came with the Kai's company. I was a consultant with the Kai's company, and also I was selling after I'd left management. And I'm trying to think, because I was leaving there. I had done my 3-year stint. I forgot how you found out about it. We were talking. I think you came around the corner, if I remember right. You may remember better than me. And you said, "Hey, are you opening your own office or something?" Do you remember better?
Yeah. So it's the first thing we connected on was your accent, because we're both from Baltimore.
Yeah.
I was always impressed with he doesn't wear a suit anymore, but he was the only real estate agent that I ever saw that wore a suit and tie every day. And it really was just the professionalism that, because I was a lost, college graduate coming in there, answered an ad off the newspaper, got thrown into the wolves. I had a good sphere of influence and network, but I was still only 22 years old down here. And, when I saw Fred and I saw the numbers he was doing and just the hunger that he still had after 20 something years in the business, it was just, I'm going to hang on to Fred's leg and see how far we can take it. And I became his buyer's agent. And and then with still a 20-year journey, we're still together.
Yeah, and I was leaving that company. I'd done a 3-year stint with the Kai's company in South Florida to help them build their luxury division. And but meanwhile, I was selling. And by the way, I'm going to brag a little bit. It's worth it. I mean, I was doing left management. My first year, second year was $35 million in business. And a lot of people say, well, that's because you ran a big company. Not really. I didn't have the contacts and customer contacts. So just had a lot of fun doing all these things you hear about on all these morning meetings, knocking on doors, making our calls, getting back up when we've had all our falls, but definitely had the mindset right. Definitely had the will to do it. And when I stood on that stage with the Kai's company, and the only person that beat me out that year was a team, Marta Dupuy and her team, and Hap Pomerantz and his team. I was 35. Marta was 36.2, and Hap was 37 million. We had a lot of fun back then, man. But anyway, so I went and started the Falco Real Estate Group. Paul came over, and so from there, I sensed right away, not just because we're both in Baltimore, but that he had that will set. He had the will that I'm going to figure this thing out, and that's where it all started in 2000, because I opened that office in 2000. We had a ball. So anyway, Paul, let's just talk about when you got your license. Let's just talk about what got you there, the mindset, what you were thinking about. Let's start with the mindset that you started your career with. And you did, I think, was it 14 your first year?
No, I was my first year. I think I made $80,000. So it was probably about 3 million, which will be capping here. But
how many deals was it about?
It could have been 14. I thought you meant 14 million. Yeah, probably one a month.
Yeah. Right. So I mean, that's you had to have a kind of right mindset. But what, if you talk about the mindset that got you into mindset you approached it with? Because I mean, I was a small startup company. It's not like I had all these tools. I mean, I had all a lot of systems in place, but not what you find today, especially with EXP. And so what was your mindset like when you what made you decide to get your license? What mindset did you start with? And talk about that first.
I want to give you one more kudos though. So 35 million 20 years ago is about 100 million now. So
yeah, that's true.
So he's better than he's saying he was. But anyway, I was a college graduate, business degree with the marketing background. Didn't know what I wanted to do. My dad tried to push me into commercial real estate, which I I'm not very book smart, but more street smart, so I can connect with the average individual better. So I just thought, people do come to Florida, especially 25 years ago, people came to Florida to live. They didn't really come to Florida to start a business. It might have shifted over the last, couple of years with the pandemic, but I wanted to be in an area where, it's very transient, a lot of real estate sales. But my mindset, I may have been a great salesman because my mindset was not good when I was 23. I am super impressed with there's a guy, Evan, on now who's, in the National Guard that I've been meeting with, that if I was at his discipline when I was 22, I'd probably worth $100 million now. So the generations that are younger, that are motivated, it probably took me till I was 35 to actually probably take it serious. And that was just part of my journey. It was just, once, friends we'll start talking about it. Once you figure out your why is really when you start making some money. I was just comfortable, and I didn't have a great mindset, but I think I had a magnetic personality which attracted me to clients, and Fred was willing to take me underneath his wing with his own son as well, and it just grew as a family. But yeah, mindset was not one of my strengths at the beginning. Yeah, I didn't know the word failure. I mean, I was a great athlete. I did not know how to fail. The word failure never even popped in my head, but I wasn't as hungry as the average person starting out.
Okay, so there you go. I'm glad you said that. So see, that's a mindset. I can't think of the word failure, right? So because you're an athlete, right? Now, a lot of people on the call are not athletes, but that mindset still, I can't think of the word failure, right? Because then that's kind of the attitude of the mindset is, if I knew I could not fail at anything, what would I achieve? And that was your mindset. Because if you couldn't think about failure as an athlete, that was your foundation without even realizing it. I think that was probably your greatest strength. That taking that athletic mindset and saying, failure is not an option, right? Because I remember you showing up. I remember you making your calls. I remember you and Tony out there struggling with the expires.
Yeah. The other thing too, with just a thing for a lot of agents starting out now, when I hear them, even before they make a decision where to go working, they'll come in, they'll interview us, they'll interview a couple other brokerages, and the other brokers will tell them, guys, 90% of you are going to fail. That's not what you want to hear from your leader. You want to hear that you're going to make it. It's just a matter of how long it's going to take until you make it. This is not a rocket science business. It's not hard. It takes 1 week or 1 month to get your real estate license. It might take 20 years to make a ton of money, but it's not hard to get the license. The barrier of entry is so low. And that's actually what attracted me to Fred, that even though the barrier of entry was so low, the professionalism was so high. I mean, you see today, it's probably even dropped more because there's more people in the business now, that the professionalism is low. I mean, we go to showings, no show, no call, nobody gets back to their sellers. I mean, the cream, especially in this shift, is really going to rise to the top. You guys will see a thinning out of this market very fast. I see a lot of people already are not renewing their dues on October 1st. It's $1,000, but like Evan said yesterday, the young guy I'm starting to mentor now, and that's an investment into your future. That is cheap. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, and you were talking about doors, knocking on doors, 10 o'clock at night, you and Tony, and getting the doors slammed on and getting the nose and getting all that kind of stuff. Because again, my definition of success is the artful management of failures and setbacks, and that's what you did very well. That's what Tony did very well your first year or two. But I'm glad you brought up this mindset in the market right now, and because all of you on this call, there's no. You ought to be thanking God every morning for this market, because now you have an opportunity you didn't have a year ago, because you have such a great opportunity to shine. Paul, and again, that's a mindset, the professionalism. I'm going to bring the best to the business. I'm not just going to, shortcut, right? So that's a mindset. That's an attitude. And that concept of good enough is never good enough. It's the enemy of excellence. And that's kind of what you're talking about, right? That's what you bring. And that's what I was bringing in the marketplace back then. So guys, for those of you on this call, trust me. never been a better time to grow a real estate practice than in a down market, because that way you could shine, you can come different. How do you look? How do what's your car look like? Do you have, when you go in there, what do you look like? What does your listing presentation look like? So you're going to shine. You're going to shine and answer your call. Jay DeFalco was on last week. When was he? The week before. Jay DeFalco, was absolutely killing icon status, and his wife. I mean, what an incredible story that was. Go back to those documents and watch Jay DeFalco and Nikki DeFalco and the guest that we had on, Lizette. The stories they're telling about this very same thing Paul just hit on is just being different, just shining. They all came from service and so on and so forth. So I'm glad you brought that up. So Paul, with the the definition, success is the artful management of failures and setbacks. And you said something, if you had a different attitude, you'd be worth 100 million a day, but 25 million is not bad, right? So, you do. But anyway, with this concept, the mindset of success is the artful management of failures and setbacks. We're not here every day to succeed. We're here to just artfully manage our failures and setbacks every day, which then equals success. And we're here as seed sowers, sowing seeds every day. Now, you had a pretty smooth ride. You came in, you were young, you were ambitious, you got it going. You said maybe, you didn't have the same mindset and discipline as the other person, but everything was smooth sailing. You fell in love with your childhood sweetheart. You still married to her today. You've had no financial challenges, and that's how you've done so well. Is that correct?
Nah. I was engaged before, called that off, met my beautiful wife late in life, which was 35. We've been married 12 years. We have 3 kids. I lost my life savings the year I had my 3rd child. And that's when the wake-up call was. So yeah, there's going to be something that happens in your life that turns it around. And not to change subjects, but I was with Jay DeFalco a couple of years ago, and he did not have the positive mindset that he had now. We had lunch at Rocco's Tacos, and I was like, man, and then not knocking Jay, I actually love him. I've sent $1 million referrals. I was like, a lot of people, I don't like being around negative people because it does kind of rub off on you. It's not that I'll ignore you if you're negative. I just won't spend that much time with you. And you got to figure out what's breeding that negativity, but he has done a 180, and I am proud of that man. And he's the, one of the biggest go-getters on the team. And the first time I met him, I was like, man, I couldn't wait to get out of that lunch table. Sorry.
I wish Jay was on. You're right. And I remember that time. Hey, listen, but watch the difference though. I'm so glad you brought that up, guys. But what Jay did different. I mean, why Jay is where he is today. I remember that week he came down, Paul, because he was kind of feeling it. But the difference is what got him to survive was he was on every morning call. He showed up. He wasn't quite doing it yet. But then he started looking externally. He said, I got to go down there and I got to be around people. He didn't even talk about moving down there because he thought that was the magic. When that same week he came down, he got a dose of Paul, he got a dose of me. I said, Jay, I don't want to hear this. You're moving down. The success is within. It's not without. You come down here. I don't have people even in my office, half the time. Sometimes I'll sit there a week, no one shows up. There's no magic. And I remember when he came down with his tail between his legs. He was having some challenges, personal challenges. Yep. Man, I'm glad I forgot about that. You brought that up. But the one difference is he showed up at those meetings. He would go in and he did his checklist and he did this, So he did the basics. His mindset was bad, but the difference was his will set was he had enough will to survive that negative mindset you're just talking about. So that's why I say these are so interchangeable. That is perfect. I'm so glad you brought that up because sometimes it's out of sheer will. Right now, my entire life right now is truly out of sheer willpower. Because right now I have all the skills that I've developed all my life with dealing with some of the stuff I'm dealing with. I mean, deep stuff, everything from finance, family to health, to loved ones. I mean, in hospice, right? Getting them out of hospice. I mean, I can go on and on the last 2 months, but I have no lack of peace because of my will set. So what you just brought up, Jay, that's a great example. I'm glad you brought that up because sometimes you won't have the mindset, but you still keep plugging no matter what. And you just say, hey, I know I'm going to keep moving through this, right? I did a post on Facebook. If you're not on my Facebook, definitely look at it. I did this whole video on circumstances that was beautiful one morning on the beach, and listen to it. It's very, very, I don't like to use the word inspirational, because inspirational, like Frank McKinney says, like a sunburn, right? It's aspirational. And I was aspiring to see, because, I keep talking about this every meeting. A Course in Miracles teaches we don't need to know anything in our lives. We just need to see. We need to have vision. And that's what Paul had. But going back, Paul, to your situation, I'm so glad you brought Jay up. That's a great point. Sometimes it's sheer will set that you need. But going back to where I was getting at, I remember your dating life. You're 23, 24, 20. Then you met, we won't talk about names, but then you met someone you thought you actually got married, did you? Was it just,
I was strong enough to call off the wedding 6 weeks before.
That's what it was. Yeah. You didn't divorce. Yeah.
But that
did you have children? No, did she have a child? I forget.
She had one after, but no, Jamie had 2 kids before we got married. And then
that's what it was. Yeah. So, but that was a tough time for you.
Yeah. That was, and if anybody knew my upbringing, I'm from Baltimore, parents had some money, was well educated, college educated, but, I just didn't have that internal drive that I see when I see the young, people of the world that I know are going to be killers. I just didn't have it. And I don't know if that's because I had a nest egg that I was relying on. And like Fred said, nobody's going to come save you. And it took me till I was probably 38 to have the rug swept from under me for me to realize that, because I was like, all right, I'm going to be fine, and then one day you're not. You got 3 kids to feed.
And the other thing, Paul, and not to get too personal, but that situation you're talking about, that financial disaster, struck your entire family.
Yeah.
And it was all based on a scam.
Yeah, it was based on a Ponzi scheme, caused, well, luckily nobody, actually ended up killing themselves over it, but it was divorces, monies, families torn apart. I mean, it's so many different layers of, you think a piece of paper can affect, but it's and then you realize that money isn't everything. I mean, one of the things I like about Fred, no matter if he's up or down, you'll never see him not smile, and that's very important, and that's why people are attracted to him. I know he's almost as long as been in the business I've been around. So, but yeah, you really won't know if he's having a bad day, and that's important. He does wear his heart on his sleeve, but he will never drag you down into what he's going. He'll actually lift you up, kind of like a preacher.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I am. We all are. Matter of fact, that's what we all are. That's what we're here to do, right? It's because all of us have our own little worlds, right? A lot of religions and mine that I was stuck with for many years all taught the same thing. It's kind of exclusivity, and that's BS. That's a belief system that's not good. It's inclusive, but we all have our own worlds, right? And a lot of people think that some of the religious leaders came to save the world. What they really came to save is all of our individual worlds, because we all are connected. When Frank McKinney says it with his work in Haiti, right? Is that how he was depressed for the first year? He started working down, and he'd come home and he just couldn't get out of the depression, right? And that, but then he started realizing that, because there's so many dying and death and all, but he realized every life he would save, that saved a whole world, right? So we're all connected, right? So anyway, when you were going, how old were you? 30 what? When you were going through that?
30, it was 2013, so it was 10 years ago.
2013. Yep. It's amazing. The same year that my stuff really started crashing, when a hedge fund did a hostile takeover, you and I were going through the same thing, losing it's crazy. So, one of the things that when you were going through some of the stuff, even as a younger guy, and the breakups and stuff, and then what caused you to be able to watch that disaster in your family, and you lost everything, your parent, blah, 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 the whole thing, and especially it was a Ponzi scheme. What you just said something, you realized money's not everything. So that's when you went inside, correct? You had to go inside. That's the only place to find the strength.
The only thing I wanted to make sure luckily I didn't lose my house, which was a good thing. So I really didn't want to change the the basics for living, meaning our house in the school district. That was the only thing that I took pride. I did not want to switch to kids' schools. I did not want to move the house. Luckily, we bought a foreclosure in 2011, so our mortgage payment, we weren't, super extended or anything. But that was the one thing that I really did want to, was uproot the kids, and the family is very, very important too. And they didn't even know about it, and that'll show you that if you're giving your family love, they didn't know if we were worth a penny or $10 million. We gave them the same love and nothing changed. And it was actually not till about 5 or 6 years after it happened that we told our older ones, and now they started to realize that some of the conversations made sense that we were kind of talking about, but they never knew what happened. Yeah.
Paul, one of the things I try to get people to realize, that success is not about you. It's not about me. It's not about that. Success is about everybody else, right? Because, it's contagious, right? Everybody wants everyone to do well. Now, the problem is just with our egos and that soul ego battle that we all have, is that a lot of people will pull you down, because the more successful you are, the more uncomfortable it makes a lot of people. However, we have our families, we have our children to leave a legacy to, that don't quit, have that mindset, I can't fail, that you just talked about. That is the most important mindset, that success is the artful management of failures and setbacks. You're not here to have your life, all things go right. You're here to be a master at working them out when they're not, so you can share that to other people. So your success has been an example already to your children. Talk about your one son.
It's funny. I was just going to say that. So yeah, my son Logan, who maybe he was watching what I was doing in the backgrounds, but he's become an entrepreneur since he was 15, and he's pretty much monetized every social media site out there, and bought his first house when he was 18, sold that, bought $1 million house when he was 21, and is married and hopefully having some beautiful kids soon. And kind of like I watched my dad, I saw that work ethic, and he didn't want to, I didn't want to work with my dad. I knew we would clash. He didn't want to work with me, which was probably a smart decision, but just, like Fred said, showing up was half the battle. He saw me go to work every day. He saw that I was putting 100% effort into it, and he found his niche. And I'm super proud of him. He got married this past March. So
how old is he now?
22.
22. Not to broadcast his net worth, but
I don't know. He wouldn't tell me. So this next generation is super private. It's
what was his whatever one, what was his monthly income? One that you do know, just 1 month.
Over 100,000 a month. Yeah.
Folks, you see, please show up. Please show up at these meetings. Please show up on YouTube. Please buy your YouTube premium channel at $11 a month that I keep preaching. Show up, because those around you, Rob, that little baby in your lap, needs you to set that example, right, that you're setting, and keep showing up every day. Rob doesn't need these meetings. He could write them off, but he shows up, right? Jonathan, all the people I'm looking at to show up. So that's a great example. I love it, man. That your son.
I will tell you, the one thing that I missed because of the time of that financial loss, that I get jealous when I see Rob with the baby like that, because that was the times that I really couldn't sleep and was thinking about work. And so, even if you grow up poor, if you have love, you will have a much happier life than if you grow up rich with no love. It's amazing. And I'm not going to cry on the video, but Rob, it's
do it. Show him.
Yeah. And I see the same thing with Alex Mendel and Matthew Levine, and a little jealous there, but I'll get it again when I have grandkids. So, yeah.
Hey, listen, let me tell you something. Any moment, I'm going to have my second great. Oh my gosh, I can't.
What do they call you?
They all call me. You remember my grandchildren?
Yeah.
Pop-up.
Pop-up. Okay.
Yeah, pop-up. Yeah. But we had our first great granddaughter in March, and now we have a great grandson coming any minute now. It's 3 centimeters dilated. But anyway, yeah, you're right, man. And by the way, Paul, you think you love your children? You have no idea, my friend. And who else on here is grandparents? Anybody? Don't make me feel the only old guy. Come on now. I'll tell you what, yeah, Dina. I mean, I thought I understood love somewhat, but you know, I don't know what it is. I guess I don't know. It's just it's the mortality thing where, you know, there's only 2 points in life: the birth and the death, and you know that you know, you started here and you're going here. And so I guess as you get closer and you start thinking, well, okay, my usefulness here, well, eventually maybe one day is going to be up, but you start seeing this next generation. It's just a beautiful thing, man. It's just unbelievable. And not only that, it's just a totally different love in my feelings, my opinions, and experience. Don't get me going. All right, let's go. But anyway, you talked about work ethic, okay? And that, you know, you saw your dad, you know, with the work ethic. And work ethic is such a misunderstood thing, right? People think work ethic, oh, you know, 14 hours a day, every day, and, you know, for the rest of your life. I get criticized a lot. I'm accused of being a workaholic. I'm a createaholic. You know, I just love creating. So I'm not a workaholic. I'm a createaholic. You know, I've done it all my life. So, you know, work ethic is so misunderstood, right? And that, oh my gosh, well, Paul had got that. That's why he's successful. That work ethic, again, is a mindset, right? It's that understanding that the work is not in results. The work is not waiting for the bone that you get. It's putting the seed in the ground, time over task over time, that George Bilbeck always says, right, Paul? It's just keep doing it. I watched you and Tony when you were in the office. I'd get pushing you guys out there. Get out there, see these people, that you just kept going out and planting their seeds, and eventually it worked, right?
Yeah, it's not, you're right. Like Fred's saying, it's not how many hours you work. If I actually calculated the hours, but the hours that I'm putting in there is no wasted time. I'm working on relationships. And I think the really thing that turned my career around, and I was good before, but when you stop looking at people as a dollar sign and you start actually valuing the relationship that's where your referrals come from. You might be a great salesman to get that first deal, but in order to extract some referrals out, and I've heard some really, really, really top agents that like to work on new business all the time. They're not extracting referrals. And I'm learning from a lot of the new agents every day when I take people on listing appointments. And then, you know, some of these rookie agents, they'll say at the end of the listing appointment, and if you got any friends or family that are thinking about selling, please give them, you know, our name. And I don't say that. I've been in the business 24 years. So like, they're constantly trying to get better, you know, extract the referrals out and do that when the trust factor is super high. If you do it at the end, at the closing table, when, you know, maybe the title company didn't give them their numbers, you know, correctly, or the mortgage company ripped them off, but, you know, ask for referrals at the highest point with the trust factor and where they're talking to the most people about the positive experience they have with you. And that's usually at the beginning. No matter what, like we said, relationship at the beginning, they trust you 100%. You forget to return one of their calls. Now you're at 95%. Ask for those referrals at the beginning and don't be scared to ask. You know, they will, just because, like, for example, you know, they may not end up selling their house. Maybe they're not as serious. They might have some guilt. They say, you know what, let me give them 3 other names in the neighborhood they're thinking about selling. You know, it's just the way, you know, the human connection is. And that's really the business we're in. It's a shame that they actually call us, you know, sales associates. We're actually networkers or connectors or customer service people. And maybe one day they will switch the title to real estate customer service advocate or something.
Well, yeah. And I'm glad you said that, Paul. One of the things with your branding, by the way, I'm going to try something. Tell me if you see my whiteboard. Do you see my whiteboard?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm glad you brought that up, is because one of the things I see all the time, especially if people coming directly into my team, I rebrand them immediately. When you start talking about homes and this and that. Now, if you want to specialize like David Roberts, that I had the privilege of mentoring and being part of his career, you know, 500 million a year, #1 income earner in the United States one year. You know, he specialized in one place only, community, residential. That's different. But when you come in, Chris Dove was on 3 weeks ago with us. Chris Dove, she thought she had to have a special license to do a commercial deal. Her eighth day with us, Jessica Baskis and I, her 8th day with us, I had her do a $1,750,000 general store. Do not brand yourself as a home person. You're a real estate specialist, right? But one of the things you're talking about relationship, I see it in the chat, and I'm going to make a lot of time for some question and answer. But if you go here, And this is, all right, let me see. Let me see. Here we go. All right, let's just do this. So when you talk about a relationship, okay, you go on a listing appointment, right? This is your listing appointment. What Paul's talking about, if you really want to build a relationship in that first 24 hours, they're going to make a decision. Did they make a good decision? It might be in the next 5 hours. When you first meet a customer, buyer, seller, phone call, you got to find in that first 10 hours, 20 hours, 15 hours, to find a way to contact them 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Because let's take a listing, for example. As soon as you leave that listing, you want to text them. And then you want to say, hey, thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity. An hour, 2 hours later, you want to text them again and say, hey, I want you to know I did the research on the marketing and I'm going to add this marketing, that marketing. By the way, I talked to someone in the office about your listing. They may have someone interested. We'll see what happens. Okay. So in your first 10 hours to 36 hours, you want to shower them, because here's what's going to happen. They're going to make that decision. And they're going to say, we made a good decision, because every time you do something, it goes like this. Okay. And then you can't do any wrong after you get that strong enough in that first 36, 48 hours, 72 hours. Once they make that decision, you're the person, and you'll always get repeat business. But what happens if you meet someone for the first time and you don't do follow-up, whether it's an associate that you want to attract to EXP, whether it's a listing seller, buyer, whoever it is, then if they make that decision, they scratch their head. Watch this. This is the first thing. Then they don't hear from you another 3, 4, 5 hours. They have to wait the next day. They come here a little bit. I wonder, did we make a good decision? Come on. And let's say you make a legitimate mistake. Forget about it. Here you can do no wrong. This is so important, folks, is that you've got to understand building relationships is so simple. So simple. So I see that in the chat box. So what I want to do, so we have plenty of room for questions of Paul, because 200.
Let me give one example, because I've lost dozens of listings like that, and it's real. And Fred's not just saying it. For example, when they hire you as a professional, the reason they could sell the house themselves, but the reason they're hiring you as professional because they don't know what to do. So I've, especially if they ask you, some sellers will ask you, please keep me informed every step of the way. Now, my ego, I might be wrong in the words I'm using, but my ego is saying, I'm not going to be micromanaged. I've sold 1,600 homes. I'm, one of the top agents in the country, but they're asking me, hey, keep me in the loop. I'm thinking I'm being micromanaged. They're asking me to look, this is how I would like to be handled as a customer. And and then I'm getting defensive, and then, it's a downward spiral. So listen to the customers. If they say, hey, we don't want to know anything, you don't have to tell them anything. Then that's a double-edged sword too, because then they'll say, I haven't heard from you in a month. How many showings, how many, offers, how many feedback. So no matter what they tell you, always try to over communicate. Nobody's going to yell at you for over communicating. They will yell at you, or actually they'll just fire you. They won't even yell at you. They'll just fire you. Yeah. So, and the other thing too, if they do want to fire you, let them go. It's very hard to undo what you've already done. And you really don't want negative Google reviews. Let them go. The chance of you selling that house after you burn that bridge are very, very low. Let them go free. They'll respect you a lot more for that.
Amen, Paul. I'm so glad you said over communicate. All of us have been in one relationship or another, marriage, whatever relationships we've been in. We know communication is the key to everything, and communication is the key to any relationship. And the word communication itself has the word commune in it, and commune means coming together, right? So let's just go quickly. I'm going to come down. Rob, you said something about complacent. Relationships will matter most. The COVID agent is going bye-bye. Amen, brother. Complacency, man. We did about, 3-4 months ago when I was doing all the C words. Remember, I had about a 5-week series on the different C's. Complacency was the one that I said is the poison, right? That poisons everything. Complacency. I heard something yesterday that really hit home. I love this, Naomi. I saw this earlier. I heard something yesterday that really hit home. A negative person sees positivity as a scam, and a positive person sees negativity as an opportunity to overcome. That is the market we're in. Overcome this negativity. Let's see. Krista, thank you. Krista, you're in Vegas, right? Look at Krista up here with us at 6 o'clock in the morning. Krista,
no,
you in Vegas?
I'm in Florida. I didn't go to Vegas this time.
Oh, I thought you did. Oh, okay. Good,
No.
Good. Oh, good. Kelly, thank you, dear. Thank you, Pastor Fred, Rabbi Fred. I'm all three, by the way. Yeah, if you ever attend my Easter Passover message, go back and look up it on Workplace. Amen. I appreciate that. Love you, Sonny. Thank you. Let's see, lucky enough to spend the time. Thanks for the group. Mommy, Grandma, Ford, Twin Boy. Woo, Kelly. Good to. Any questions? Come on, raise your hand for Paul. We got a chance here. 233 deals last year, Paul.
Yep.
That's all.
Yes, and
Hey,
I'm actually more proud of making the agent successful in the team than my own deals. It's
Amen.
that's the giving back that I'm looking for. And it's a lot of people may think I have favorites on the team. I want to help everybody. I can't help everybody. So if you do show up at the office, I mean, that is who's getting, some of the, better, I wouldn't say better leads, they're all leads, but if you show up, you will make more money.
Yeah, but and listen, guys, I don't want people licking their chops. Go, oh, see, I could be successful if I worked around Paul because he gives all these leads, folks. It's just it's contact, right? That you're giving out, and you have to still work.
Yeah, forget the word lead. It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity. The word lead doesn't exist. We all have leads. It's
Right. And someone talked about Tom Martin's business planning workshop. There's a few of those. Krista, I'll post the one for South Florida in there and a link or whatever you got for that. And you got to remind me, Krista, I got to help you promote that, please. And then let's see, any questions in here when they sign a listing after, okay. When they sign after listing or buy, contract is best. Communication cures all. I love that. Hey, Rob, communication.
I think Rob's asking when should we ask for their, I would say during that, when you leave that first meeting, when the trust factor, when you see that twinkle in their eye is when you should ask for referrals, and do it nonchalantly when you're leaving. Just say, hey, if you have any friends or families thinking about selling, let me know. I'd love to help them. And then give them time to think about it. It's another reason to call them back. Yeah.
I love that. Communication cures all and overcomes all obstacles in business and life. Amen. I put the Facebook group link in there at the very top. Joe put the, Joe, can you repost this most folder for me? And Krista, you have a question. You go ahead.
Hi, Paul. Thank you for this call today. Paul, I was wondering, at the level that you're at, obviously, we all want to, be, modeling, towards, high producers, but what are your goals for moving forward? I don't know if this is personal or not, but I just want to find out from somebody who's, we see at the top, where are you going? Do you know what I don't know if I'm asking.
Great question. I'm happy with the income I make. I mean, it's it usually is around $1 million a year, which is plenty. I'm not real flashy. I'm not looking to buy a crazy house or anything. It's really just now it's working on the relationships with the agents, the family, the kids, sustaining the same income and actually enjoying life a little more. I'm not so driven by the income or the number of deals anymore. Really just growing the actual business. And if the income slips a little bit but I feel like I'm actually communicating with our clients even more, then that's fine too. And you sound like you're not doing great. You're an awesome agent and you're making a ton of money. Don't look at me as any different than you. I promise you, I look up to you. You'd be surprised.
No, thank you. No, thank you. I just was wondering, where you're.
Chris, to follow up to that though, Paul, one of the things is I see people get lost and they're only doing 12 deals a year, 15 deals a year. They get hung up with the minutia. I was at this event last week and one of the guys stood up just like you, 250 deals a year. He did it single-handedly with one little part-time assistant until he hit about 200. And then he got one other assistant. How do you manage all this? What is your structure like? How many assistants? Address that quickly.
So I really just have one. He's anybody his name is Daniel Krieger. He's on the back end. He's got it. I don't know how he does what he does, but he actually not only does the TC for 200 plus deals, he helps the 400 agents on the team. He negotiated every tricky deal that our attorneys couldn't get done. But he really doesn't listen to really professional athletes have this too. He doesn't hear any outside noise. Like when I'm negotiating with a client, they'll say my husband's sick, or if I don't sell for enough money, none of that really is relevant when you're negotiating a deal with somebody. And I think probably because he doesn't have that much skin in the game of that negotiation, he's almost like a mediator. So we're leveraging his strengths, for myself and everybody on the team. And I think just knowing your strengths, my strength is knowing the, clients, establishing relationships, and he's getting a lot of these deals closed. And make sure, if you do have a Daniel or somebody else that you use on your team, make sure you introduce them. If you just throw them into the mix out of nowhere, it's like a handoff or a fumble. I wouldn't even call it a handoff. It's basically a fumble.
Great point.
And, they'll say, oh, I hired Saperstein and somehow I'm ended up with Krieger, even though Krieger might be better than Saperstein. So if you have an assistant or a transaction coordinator, when you go on a listing appointment, have their business card, give it to them. Say, you may be hearing from my assistant. If you ever can't reach me, feel free to call them. It's just another lifeline. For example, if you go to see the doctor, not everybody goes to see the doctor. They might want to see the PA, the physician's assistant, because they know they'll get more attention from the physician's assistant. You can run your business that way as well, but just don't become unavailable. There's a lot of top agents in this business that are unavailable. And when we see their listing, when we see their name on a listing, we cringe. You don't want to be that guy or girl. I promise you. You want to be available to agents and you want to be available to your buyers or sellers, but you can't be at two places at once. So, figure out, is the solution a virtual assistant? Is the solution assistant? Is the solution a buyer's agent, a showing agent? And once you figure that out, like, my last year at Remax, before I started with Danny, I think I closed, I don't know if it was 130, 180 deals, and my relationship at home was going to crap. I mean, there wasn't, I was making a lot of money, but there wasn't one thing going right. It was a train wreck. I was forgetting to call people back. I'm missing listing appointments, $10,000 opportunities. And this Danny character who basically I found me 5 years ago on realtor.com that I tried to get rid of for a while because I couldn't figure out where his strong suit was. Eventually I said, you know what? Let's put him in the back office. And it's like gold. But he gets complacent too. Like, make sure you have checks and balances on your assistant. Make sure that they're CCing you on every email. You want to see the response time. My brother, who's in the meat business, he's in the restaurant business, he has a little different philosophy. He thinks everybody's replaceable, meaning that, hey, somebody else wants that job just as much as Danny does. I value that relationship, longer than trying to get rid of somebody and starting over. You can, if somebody is coachable, they can become a great assistant, they become a great, agent. If they're not coachable, it's an uphill battle, and you're going to know it from day one. Listen to your intuition. It really helps in this business.
Hey, Paul, I got to piggyback on that, man. Number one, 10 things that require zero talent on Google. Look it up. 10 things that require zero talent. The number one thing is coachable. That's number two. The other thing I want to bring up, I want to emphasize again. I don't know if you all caught that, how he struggled trying to figure out this Danny character, right? That's why is he so successful with Danny? Because success is the artful management of failures and setbacks. Paul artfully managed that while he was going through that with Danny, and look at the success that he's had. So that again, I just want to emphasize that we all think that because things are going wrong, well, it's not working, and then we get discouraged and we let it affect our mindset. That's when the creativity kicks in, folks. And that's what happened to Paul and Danny. The creativity kicked in, right, Paul? You finally figured out, put him in the back office. That's his strength. And look what happened.
And it wasn't until 4 years into the role that he's now, he is the operation. People don't realize it. I'm really just the introduction. He does run the entire operation on the back.
4 years. 4 years.
Yeah.
Hey, Andres, you on the call? There's hope for us. We only have 3.
But let them, and I was more of the same way I didn't like people to micromanage me. I'm trying to micromanage Danny, which wasn't the right thing to do. And I got to give him enough, breathing room to make it. And until actually one of our top agents, unfortunately, he passed away, Phil, the same thing, was a great agent. And I didn't give him enough credit to actually, fly on his own. I was always, but, for me, because I don't write down notes that much, it was more that that was my checks and balances. I would ask them, hey, did you call? Did you leave a voicemail? And that way it was out of my head. It cleared up my headspace, but it was a little insulting to Phil and Danny. So I'm still trying to work on that to make sure I'm not, micromanaging these guys as well.
Hey, Paul, publicly, I'm going to ask you a favor. You got to meet with Andres and I and help us out there because there's hope. And you notice he didn't respond. So that means he's trying to multitask and he's doing what I tell him not to do in the call. So publicly, I'm calling him out.
No. The one tip I can give you guys is figure out his strength and your strength and just merge them together. But yeah. You gotta use the youth on your side. Let him shine. He'll only make you look better. I promise.
I woke him up, folks. Look.
Been here, Fred. You're right. I am. But no, I appreciate it.
Oh, anyway, man. No, we have a ball. Andres and I have a good history, and watch out where we're going, man. It's pretty cool. Anyway, questions here. You got a chance here. Let's see. Any questions? Speak up. You got an opportunity here.
And
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Any target audience for possible sales in the coming market? Like, do you think targeting investors, or do you think targeting home buyers that need to resize, something like that would be a best fit?
Quick question, because you're a little different market. I don't know what the, in Port St. Lucie, I don't know how long the average person stays in those homes.
Speak for your own, speak for the Boca Del Rey marks. I still work both.
Okay. So, some people act out of fear. I mean, and not that I put the fear in anybody, but when you're talking to people now, if you're talking to a seller and if they're considering selling, I would kind of nudge them that, guys, we've probably seen the peak. If you're thinking about selling it now or in the near future, they're relying on you. You're the professional. You're their stockbroker. So you do have an influence over their decision. I would try to push them over the edge of let's not wait 6 months. Now it was funny when the market was this hot, I was having trouble convincing them. They said, what if we could sell it for more than 6 months? Now the table's turned a little bit. So it's a little easier conversation of what if it's not worth as much, that conversation is a little more fearful, so I am able to get people to actually list a little faster now because they do see the market shifting, but use Bob, we've been together on plenty of appointments. I mean, you're probably a better salesman than me, more convincing, but just make sure you're a little firm with it and don't, not that you're wishy-washy anyway, but I would say whatever direction you want them to go and be a little more direct with it.
Good point. Hey, Rob, and one of the things too is, especially you, man, I haven't looked at your market, but make sure you don't put yourself in any corner. You do it all, right? You've got a team backing you up. You do it all. That's what Chris Dove did. Only thing I said to her when our first meeting, because I do the onboarding for my direct group, I said to her, Chris, listen, one of the things you want to do in this business is have your antennas up. You're in the real estate business. You're not in the house business. You're in the real estate business. That's all I said to her. Keep your antennas up. She called me 8 days later. She said, what's a triple net lease? I said, who asked you? And she said, a guy has some money, blah, blah, blah. I said, oh my gosh, bingo. He's looking for a passive investment, Walgreens, a Dollar General store, blah, blah, blah. And 8 days later after that, she has $1,750,000 deal in Tennessee, and she lives in Tallahassee, Florida. And Deborah, you on the call, participated with it. Keep your antennas up, every aspect of the real estate business. The way I learned how to do land is I just stuck my foot in there and I just figured it out. The way I did building houses, doing land development, auctioneering, just keep putting step forward in this business. Again, I still don't have anybody writing me saying, Fred, thank you, I signed up for CRS. And yet they earn 120 some thousand a year when the average agent earns 44,000 a year, and no one is. And people might say, well, Paul's not a CRS. There's some people that bypass it, right? Maybe, but the majority.
I am an SRES. I did.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because he went and he only did one thing. That's a good point. Thank you, Paul. I'm glad you said it. He went and did his SRES, which is senior real estate specialist, because that's the market he's in. So guys, just keep every day. Life by the inch is a cinch. Life by the yard is hard. And if you are feeling that this business is hard, you're trying to step out 1 yard at a time, and you got to stop it. You got to step one life by the inch is a cinch. Hey, Paul, when you had that mind shift in your 30s and found your why, what actions you took that made you grow in your career? Lucy asked that.
Great question. So I used to spend zero money on marketing. Now, even though it was probably the worst time to spend money marketing, there is a cap that you're going to reach if you're not spending money on your business. If you went and opened a car wash or a urgent care and you spent no money marketing and you just waited for somebody to walk in your business, you'd probably be closed up before you even made any money. So I was willing to spend money on marketing. I think I started with $1,000 a month against on direct mail marketing. And it was probably, so it's probably close to 10 years ago. And I think I think maybe a couple of years ago, I peaked and I kind of pulled back a little bit where I was spending $10,000 a month on direct mail marketing, which I know it really wasn't sustainable. And I don't even know if it was worth it, but I pulled back to about half of that. And it's, I do about my return is like 10X on the direct mail. So,
yeah,
but yes, you figure out where you want to spend money. Lately, I've been doing something called, I'm actually picked up probably 3 or 4 listings, a couple solid buyers that I've referred out. It's called Google Local. I think it's Google Locals. Hold on one sec. I'll look it up. Google Local Services. So it's not Google pay-per-click. You're not trying to drive traffic to your site. Google Local Services is actually, your phone will ring for inbound leads. And if you're trying to get buyers leads, sellers leads, renters, and if the lead comes in, that's not something that you're actually advertising for, you do get the money back for that actual particular lead. The minimum ad spend is $300 a month. So it's $75 a week. And you could do like, say Krista wants to do it. You could only do luxury. You could say your only category that you choose is luxury real estate. And if the lead comes in for a rental, or it's actually, so Google records the conversation. So if you're having a conversation and it's about rentals, you do kind of have to say, sorry, I don't handle rentals. That way you don't get charged for the lead, but you do still have their phone number. So you still could refer it out. You could do anything you want with it, but you're not just being charged for that lead. So I would at least, and also in order to be featured on Google Local Services, you have to have your profile verified. So if you go through the process and get your profile verified, you'll see if you search for a realtor near me, it'll say Google verified or something. It'll say right next to the name. And that's the only way to actually get on Google Local Services. And you're able to pick whatever cities you want. You're able to pick what time you want to accept phone calls. It's a really cool system. It's not gimmicky pay-per-click driving advertising site. It's live calls. I met a seller yesterday. He's from Tennessee. His dad passed away. I'm selling 3 of their properties. It's probably $1.5 million in total off one phone call. And he just called me and says, hey, Paul, I read some of your reviews. I like what I see. You seem like a straight shooter. Unfortunately, my dad passed away. Will you list these 3 properties? And I'm always skeptical of Google stuff, but I've been doing this probably about 3 months. We've got 2 solid buyer leads in the $1 million range and 3 or 4, listings going live. So it's definitely working.
Great.
And I don't know, down here, it might be a little saturated, but Bob, up in your area, I would definitely give it a try up there, that local services, because that's when people type in realtor near me, that is what come up. They want to make sure they're verified, that there's, not part of any scams or anything. And it's been a blessing.
Hey, Paul, one of the things I want to piggyback on that, I used to, way back when, remember Top Producer, the database? I would preach to you, Tony, everybody in the office, and everyone would resist. That question about your mind shift change, when did you start working your sphere of influence? I remember the story one day you said, gee, I got to start doing a better job working my sphere.
I still have to do a better job. This is the first time that I'm reaching out. Well, I'm not even reaching out to them because it's a little too big, but this is the first time that they're all getting monthly actual mailings, personalized mailings in the mail. I started with the company. It's called let me double check. I think it's called Info Card Marketing. it's $1 a piece. You send them and it's customized mailers to your sphere of influence. Sometimes it could be a hockey schedule. It could be, you know, a recipe, but it's basically done for you. And one of the nicest things they do, and actually I've seen how many sales I missed because of this. So what they do is actually they'll take your database and they'll scrub it. And then they sent it back to me and they said, well, these 30 people have actually moved. What do you want to do about that? I'm like, oh my God.
30, wow.
They used another 8. There was like 10% of my data of my closest. So I sent them 400 names. 30 to 40 of them have used a different agent. So it just shows.
Oh man, I'm so glad I asked that question.
And I didn't get sick about it. I said, you know what? Serves you right. You didn't stay in touch with them. But I didn't get negative. Oh, you just lost, you know, $20 million in sales. And you know what? It's not going to happen again. I'm going to be on top of these people.
I'm going to say this before you sign for Google services. You ought to get your sphere of influence straight, get your KV core going, get your past customers and clients and your sphere. And don't tell me you don't have a sphere. Everybody has a sphere of influence because that's number one, man.
The other name that if anybody's writing it down is called info card marketing. It's basically about $1 a piece. And I think their minimum is either 100. So you could, for $100 a month, you can basically get started with it. There's no BS upfront fees. There's no charges. It's a company out of Chicago, very, you know, very personalized service, custom stuff. And it's, I've been really happy with them and use it. The way to figure out who should you send it to? It's a great question. If anybody's thinking that. Anybody that, you know, that you've met, that if you called them, they would know exactly who you are when you talk to them. That's kind of my litmus test of who to send it to is, you know, if I called them now, would they know exactly who I am? Or would I have to basically resell myself on them?
Yeah.
And
Well,
after 20 years, that number was only 400. It wasn't as much as you think.
Yep. Hey, Roquel, go ahead. She has a question.
I'm unmuting myself. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm sitting next to Paul, by the way. Hi, I have a question. How important are reviews from your buyers and your sellers after you close?
Well, I don't know that I would ask them for after you close. I would ask them way before that for that trust factor. But, you know, because what happens is 90% of the stuff that we do is out of our control in the real estate business. So if you're asking for a review at a closing table where the title company took an hour and a half, that's what they're going to remember. I think they're very important, but, you know, I always relate everything to sports. I would only ask for a review if you think you hit a home run, or, you know, maybe when you brought them that high end off, that great offer at that time. Because if not, in our mind, we always think we do a good job because, you know, that's how human beings think. But in their mind, it's a totally different experience.
Good question, Roquel. Okay, guys. Hey, I reposted the Facebook group. Please join the Facebook group, Mind Body Mastermind, because as you can see again, you got to keep working all three of these: mindset, will set, skill set. You heard it again this morning. You heard success, all about success, the artful management of failures and setbacks. Paul is not this, you know, magical, everything is going so well in his life. He's earning $1 million a year. He's had to constantly artfully manage that failures and setbacks and manage his business. So let's keep encouraging one another, building one another up, join that Facebook group, because we all have that capability of what Paul has demonstrated this morning. It's just a matter of where do you want to go? The sky's the limit. And what would you attempt to, you know, go after if you knew you couldn't fail, right? And that's what Paul started out with. I thought that was pretty darn cool. And that is, he had that athletic mindset as an athlete from school, that he didn't know how to think about failure. And it's a proof of it. It's gone on through his son. Now, 100,000 a month.
So one more quick funny story about my little one. So I played college baseball. So I was trying to show Shane something. He was 6 years old, 7 years old, playing T-ball. And I was trying to teach him how to do something with his swing. And he says, "Dad, it's my life. Let me live it the way I want."
Oh,
I don't know if I would say that at 48 or 747 to my dad, but it's all good.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Anyway. All right, guys, thank you so much. And I guess any other, oh, okay, one more question. Raquel, you have another question, or did you not put your hand down there? Oh, I think she didn't just put her hand down.
Hey, guys, I'm always around. If you ever need that push of confidence or positivity, feel free to reach out. And I like seeing everybody on this call doing great.
All right, super. All right, okay. After party. Oh, let's see. One second. What database do you use, Paul?
I use, well, I actually met somebody that runs CRM Fairy that I can, it's crmfairy.com, who kind of was helping me with my KV Core recently, but I do use Follow Up Boss. I've just used it since I was at Remax. It's a cheap program. It's not that techy. And you're able to import, export, and it basically records every time there's an incoming call. I use different kind of phone numbers and stuff, but anytime there's an email, you can actually keeps track of it's basically tied to your email through an API key. But Follow Up Boss, I think for $49 a month. But we have something better. It's just KV Core. It's just use the one they're going to use. There's no great, whatever one you're going to actually use is the best one. But I do use Follow Up Boss.
KV Core, Laurie asked the question, who is good to use for help with KV Core? I would say everyone. In other words, I would, get the best out of each one. Because even if you invest a couple hundred here, a couple hundred here, a couple hundred, that is your engine. When you think about, I grew up, I had a few friends that had race cars and stuff, and the money they would put in these race cars, and it just wasn't good enough. They would keep upping their engine. And that's what KV Core is. It's your engine. So Laurie, I would say, go to everybody you can find on Workplace. And Paul, you just mentioned, what was it that helped you with KV Core?
Follow Up Boss.
No, but helped you with KV Core.
crmfairy.com.
CRM Fairy. Can someone type that in the box? CRM Fairy.
IRY.
Oh, just like a fairy. Okay, crmfairy.com.
She does individual consultations, group consultations. We had one last Tuesday. It was about 20 people that showed up for the Zoom consultation. We could do another one, but it's actually recorded. So let me actually let me see if I can find the link. I'll send the link out to everybody. So.
Yeah. Okay. And they teach KV Core.
Yeah, she'll do it.
I never heard that. Who is that? Sylvia?
No, her name is Katie. So she does it. She was basically a Weichert realtor up in like New Jersey that they had KV Core. She didn't really make it as an agent. She's more techie, more database stuff. So she's basically been teaching agents, and since then she's great. And it's not like well, I don't know Shannon because never used them, but it's more hands-on. He doesn't just optimize and give it back to you and you don't learn it. It's more, hey, let me show you how to use this site. It's totally
crmfairy.com. I'm so glad, guys. Please invest in that. Okay. Jessica said Follow Up Boss. Okay, what else? Let me see if there's any last questions. Thank you, everyone. Let's see. It's not clunky, not too many add-ons. Okay, tell me. Thanks, Paul, for your words. Well, okay, thanks. You're all welcome. KV Core Queen. Oh, Sylvia Dana. Yeah, that's another one. Mike, thank you for that. Yeah, Sylvia is another KV Core person. And I got news for you folks. Before I spend a dime in marketing, I would spend all that money on KV Core until I had it mastered. I'm serious. Don't do anything but KV Core. If you master KV Core, all the rest is going to follow. I promise you. Okay. Any more questions? Eddie. Why do you have your camera off, girl? Give me that smile.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good to see you.
Good. I have a quick question. Speaking of marketing and things like that, so I've been doing my own little learning on KV Core myself, and I've been putting out landing pages and creating what's that other thing? Landing pages. What is it?
Squeeze pages, maybe?
Yes,
Squeeze
squeeze
pages,
pages. There you go. Squeeze pages and landing pages. And then I've created a not a form, but more like a Excel sheet so that I can start tracking down all of my landing pages to see how well they're doing. However, I'm having difficulty finding ways to really promote my landing pages so that I can track them. I mean, yes, I've posted them on Facebook, I've posted them on social media. What other ways can we advertise our landing pages?
Well, one of the things that George does, that little video where he talks about his KV Core site, how it's their MLS. You got to go back and look that up. He did a meeting on that. He does a little Tiffany, maybe you know, I think it's, if I remember, the video is only like a 1 minute long, talk about how wonderful that website is and they could use it as their MLS. And he actually shows them how to do a search. That's number one. On the back of your card, I would say, hey, you have your own personal MLS with me, and put your website there. So push that website out. That's what I would suggest. And then the other thing I would suggest, Paul, if Paul says something, I would pay attention. I would go to CRM Fairy right away. I don't care what it costs. Oh, the CRM Fairy, someone posted. Is that correct,
Okay,
Mike?
yeah, it's $50 for an hour. I think you'd get enough out of an hour that you'd one-on-one that it's pretty good.
The CRM Fairy, is that it?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
The CRM Fairy. Thank you, Mike. So anyway, Eddie, does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you
Well,
so much, guys.
Also, you
anything-
can, if you put it on your Facebook business page, you can actually boost it. I mean, that's the only way to really get out there on social media. I mean, social media, you really just hit your friends, but if you put it on your business page and you actually boost it in the
Mhm.
in the area and spend what you want, I think she was saying to spend about $10 a day on that. You
Right.
actually see a lot better results, but just hitting your 5,000 or whatever you have for your network isn't
Uh-huh.
quite enough.
Yeah, that's what I'm noticing. And I'm just like, I get a couple of hits, and those people are like people that are within my Facebook group, or are customers that are following me, and they're checking my page. But after that, I'm not really getting much of a hit. So that's why I wanted to see how can I.
Eddie, look at Robert's comments too. Rob Abrams. That's a good point, Rob. Facebook suppresses links, YouTube videos, that's important. Disregard Google ads for YouTube videos. So yeah, you just got to keep going. And your KV Core, listen, that's a $400 a month program that's given to us at this brokerage. But I'll tell you, please look at it as the engine of your business. That's a mindset. That's a mindset. These guys with these fancy cars, man, that race, they're always tinkering with their engine, adding something else, making it a little bit more horsepower. So if you want a good race car and you want to wake up in the morning, you go check your leads and you want to say, you got a new lead, you got a new lead, you got a new lead, invest in your KV Core, master it. There's videos in there. And again, you won't do it if you don't time block. You don't time block. I do that LinkedIn webinar, 90 minutes. I have it where it tracks everyone's attention when they're doing it. I get people to get scores of 40% because it tracks whether you're multitasking when you're going through the LinkedIn webinar, and they come back. I say, how'd you like the webinar? Oh, it's pretty good. And their LinkedIn doesn't change because they only paid attention 40% of it. We got to stop that, man. We got to really be passionate about our business, especially our KV Core. That is your engine. Okay, somebody else said quickly, and then we're going to wrap it up. Eddie, you can post them in Facebook groups. Okay, various towns around you. Instagram Reels, and share them to your story and Facebook story. Cool. All right. We're anybody else? That's it. Okay, cool. Tiff, you want to take over?